Val O'Hare, and on behalf of Let's Talk Vero, it's my pleasure to welcome you here tonight. So tonight, we're calling this Let's Talk Downtown Referendum. And our goal tonight is to have it more of a, Irina called it a talk show format, so that's really a reach for us. So that means you need to help us. And so we hope you'll feel comfortable asking any questions you may have before we obviously go to vote next week. And hopefully for some of you, it'll help clear up some questions that you've been curious about. And we hope the experts that have graciously volunteered their time tonight will help us answer your questions. So before we really get going, in case you didn't know this, you are sitting in America's largest small town professional theater. So this is, for those of you who are theater buffs, this theater now is in its 51st year of operation, which is extraordinarily unusual for a small town to have had the capacity to endow a nonprofit theater for this long. So the theater now is planning for the next 50 years. So we'll see how it shakes out. It's safe to say we won't see the end of that story. But we're going to support the theater for as long as we can. Also, the theater asked me to share with you that it's committed to providing a total theater art experience and is dedicated to providing community leadership by opening its doors to public forums and partnerships to cultivate collaboration and education. And Lori is our manager of the theater, and she usually pops in about now and waves at me and she says, don't forget to tell people that the bar is open. So, because all the nice people you see here that work for the theater, they're actually volunteering their time tonight so we can have this. I just said you usually pop in around this time. There's Lori. So thank you, Lori. And I did say the bar is open till 6:30 because obviously that's some revenues, and so please consume and aid and abet to the revenues. So they'll be open until 6:30. All right, so that was my public service announcement regarding drinking. All right, it's so the way we want to do this, as I already mentioned to you, we're hoping to do a Q&A kind of a format. And so we'd like to encourage you to quote unquote chime in. If you've got a really big, loud, booming voice, do it from your seat. And if you don't, we have a microphone right up here. If you feel more comfortable asking the question into the microphone. And so the way we'd like to structure the program, first I'd like to introduce you or reintroduce you to John Cotugno. I'm going to call you a regular. He is the mayor of Vero Beach. So we're going to have and it's really my pleasure to welcome Monty Falls. I've known you for many, many years. So in corporate parlance, he is the CEO of Vero Beach, AKA the city manager. Now, John, I think it's fair to say everybody knows you. I've read your bio a few times, so if it's okay with you, I'm going to skip it. All right, but I want to share with you a few things about Monty, since again, we are really thrilled to have you here tonight, so we appreciate your time. So Monty is from King Mountain, North Carolina. He graduated with honors from North Carolina State University with a BS in civil engineering. He's a registered Florida professional engineer since 1985, and he moved to Vero Beach in 1981. So you're as close to a local as it's going to get. He began working for the city of Vero Beach in 1991 and has been Public Works Director for 15 years. And now city manager, or AKA CEO, for the last 5 years. He's married to Michelle Dunn, which is this beautiful, tall, blonde lady from Vero Beach, and he met her at North Carolina State. They have 2 rescue dogs, Jesse and Marley, and they enjoy playing golf. They try to stay fit, literally. Michelle is a trainer. And my favorite one is, and to enjoy life. So again, we appreciate your time tonight, and so we've asked these two gentlemen to give you an update on what's happening, obviously, post-Milton, and really whatever else you wish to share with this community for the next few minutes. Thank you, gentlemen.
And I'm going to be, and I will be brief. I just want to give a thank you to all the citizens of our city. I was, one of the people who experienced a tornado in Central Beach. I live a few blocks from here, probably like many of you people do. When I went outside my home after the tornado, literally seemed to go above it. It does sound like a locomotive, in case anybody's never heard one. And it did put the part of the 200-year-old oak that lives in my backyard in my swimming pool, and through the enclosure and all that stuff that happened to other people. But I consider myself lucky, because I was able to then to go outside and see the damage. And when I went outside and looked down Fiddlewood, that's the street I live on, it looked like a tunnel, because there was so much debris had been blown over. And the reason why I say this is we live in a great city, and what happened after that is why it's a great city. My neighbors came out and helped me get debris off my car. I helped them get debris off their cars. We cleared driveways away, so in case there was an emergency, we helped each other. And that continued day after day after day. And it will continue. It will continue until all the debris is gone. It will continue because everybody has a different reason why they think Vero's a great place. Some say it's the trees, some say it's the beach, some say it's the art and culture. It really is one thing, it's the people. The people who live here came together in a time of need and showed why this is a great place to live, raise a family, bring your family back, and enjoy it. And we will continue to pick up. The reason why I asked Monty, and Monty's joining us tonight, because Monty's, I'm out here talking, but Monty's is out here doing. Okay? He's out there coordinating his team. He's the one who coordinated with EOC and the responses. He's the man who lived it firsthand, so he should be the person who tells you what's going on. But I know one thing, the citizens here are not forgotten in our city. If you have a situation, send an email to your favorite local city council person. I am sure they will answer. There may be one or two sitting in the audience tonight somewhere. And we'll get you answers. And we'll get through this together, because we are really a great city together. And for that, I'm going to turn it over to Monty. And questions about the pickup and what's going on and schedules, he's got the answer. So thank you.
Thank you, John. I hate to say this is the first time I've been to one of these, but for those of you that know me, I'm a morning person. I do much better early than I do late, so if I happen to nod off, just hit me. I get to the office about 6 in the morning, so I have a couple hours uninterrupted before the phone starts ringing. But we used to all remember 2004 as the year we had twin hurricanes. But this is unprecedented what happened this year. We had an EF3 tornado along with 4 or 5 other tornadoes that touched down, and that's a Midwest tornado. It was on the ground for 20 miles, did destruction just all through St. Lucie County and our beautiful town. But when we emerged Thursday morning, I was out early with the police chief coming across the bridge. What I saw in Central Beach was the same kind of damage that we had with Francis and Jean, but more concentrated in that one area. And with the structures that were damaged, it was hard to take. So what we did after that, immediately, we got our forces together. We set up a command post at the fire station over by the bridge, and we had many different partners. We had the Sheriff's Department, we had the Indian River Shores Police, we had the National Guard, we had the Forest Service, we had County Public Works, City Public Works, and I'm gonna forget somebody, I don't mean to, but it was a true team effort. And the command post was staffed not by upper level management, but by mid-level managers that actually do the work. And they took a map of the city and split it up into the beach side into 3 zones. And the Shores Police went with the guys in the north zone, the sheriff and the PD went with the other 2 zones, and they actually did a welfare check on every house, knocked on every door to make sure people were okay. That effort started about 9 o'clock in the morning. We started pushing debris off the streets, and by 2 o'clock we had the streets clear enough that we could open it to traffic so people could get back over to their properties. And that's really important for people to be able to see, you know, what am I faced with, what do I have to do? So we put our plan into effect. We have pre-positioned debris contractors that we have before the storm. We have 2, we have 1 in the backup. And then they all use subcontractors, and they compete for that labor force who was spread between Fort Myers and Asheville. We started the first debris collection day on Thursday the 17th with 6 crews, and now we have 13 crews doing that collection. We estimated there to be 80,000 cubic yards of vegetated debris. So in just 10 days, we've gotten half of that debris collected. And you can see it right over here. The reason we use Riverside Park this time is to cut down on the trucking time to take it to another place so we can be more efficient. We brought the grinding operation in, and you see the huge mulch piles that are appearing before our eyes. So what we intend to do is to have the first pass completed by Thanksgiving. And what you'll see next week is we'll start picking up what we call construction and demolition debris. We haven't done that yet. We've been focusing on the vegetative debris, but we have to keep those separate. They go to separate haul sites and separate disposal sites. So once we can get that done, we'll get the first pass completed, and then as soon as the trucks pick up the debris up, we can see people bringing out more. We know there's more, so we'll make a second pass. Hopefully that'll do it, but if it doesn't, we'll keep coming until we get it all picked up and people get their lives put back together. But it's truly been a team effort between all the local agencies that I mentioned, and our contractor's been fantastic. We've gotten great support from the public and great patience, and we really appreciate that. Our staff and the contractors are working long hours to get this done, and we'll get it done. So with that, any questions anybody might have, be happy to try to do it. In the back.
I'm curious, the mulch that you're getting, what's gonna happen to that?
I knew that question was coming, so I thought I'd try to have an answer, but I don't have the complete answer. We get reimbursed if we do this work within a certain amount of time, 90 days from FEMA, for 85% of the vegetative debris and 100% of the C&D. So I'm checking with our FEMA contacts to see if we can make that available to the public. And if we can, we will, if it doesn't jeopardize our reimbursement.
Okay.
So we should know something next week, and we'll get that information out. But if you go to the city's website, each day we post a update of how much has been collected the previous day and in total.
But to recap, it is our intention as a city to give away that mulch as free mulch to the community if FEMA allows such a thing to occur.
That is correct. If it does not jeopardize our reimbursement, we'll make it available.
Thank you.
For that. Yes?
So I didn't hear you mention anything about pickup on the mainland, and
They-
I've had 2 streets that were with huge trees down over Tropical and 10th Avenue and
Yep.
11th for
We-
over a week.
We got some crews started on the mainland this week, and you'll start seeing that effort continue.
And
In the back?
If the debris, doesn't fit in the front of the street because it's not wide enough, we put it all in the driveway. Will they pick it up out of the driveway?
She said they couldn't get all of the debris in this, in the right of way, and they put some of it in their driveway.
It's filled in the driveway, we don't know what to do.
I believe unless there's something under it, a water meter or a, you know,
No.
electric transformer, they will pick it up,
Okay,
okay? But if they don't, when they come by the first time, please give us a call,
okay,
okay?
thank you.
That was easy.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Since it was so easy, you'll come back, right?
Keep me away.
Keep you awake. All right, we all have served coffee rather than alcohol. Okay? And thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. We have three local experts on planning and development that we've invited tonight to help us better understand the two referendums on the ballot concerning the revitalization efforts. And so our three panelists tonight, or slash moderator, I'll explain in a moment, Bethany Fortunato, Keith Kite, and Dory Stone. And they have really been terrific working with us and trying to help us identify areas of interest. And so let me share with you their bios. They're very impressive. So Bethany Fortunato is also going to help us facilitate the Q&A because she's an expert in in affordable housing and in development. So Bethany has spent her 40-year career in the field of real estate development with a primary focus on affordable multifamily housing. Hi. Bethany. Working for developers in the Midwest and Maine during the early part of her career, she participated in the development of over 100 affordable multifamily housing properties in 7 states, as well as luxury waterfront condominiums, premier office space, and assisted in the acquisition and development of a portfolio of manufactured housing communities valued at over $17 million. While consulting with a national syndication firm for 20 years, she participated in the underwriting of over $2 billion worth of affordable multifamily apartment communities for seniors aged 62 and older in Sebastian, Florida, which she developed with low-income housing tax credits in 1997. Born and raised in a small town in mid-Michigan, she moved to Maine in 1984 and lived there for 10 years before moving to Sarasota, Bradenton area in 1994. She and her husband Michael were married in 2009 and lived in Sarasota until 2012 when he joined the Navy to serve as a physician. During his 8 years of service, they were stationed in Beaufort, South Carolina and San Diego, California. After his service ended, they returned to Florida in 2020, choosing Vero Beach, excellent choice, as their home due to its charm and small town feel. They reside in Central Beach with their 3-year-old Labrador Retriever, Maxwell Smart. They have, does he wear a shoe on his paw? I mean, a phone on his paw. Okay. They have 5 children and 6 grandchildren. Currently, Bethany serves as Secretary of the Indian River County Military Officers Association of America and has been actively involved in the development of the World War II tribute that is just completing construction on Veterans Memorial Island Sanctuary and will be dedicated on Veterans Day, November 11th. And she's also an active member of Impact 100. So thank you for helping us out tonight. So, and the nice thing of having this expert is I can just go, whoop, hand off the microphone. I'll do that very shortly. And would you like to go ahead and come on up? So this is perfect. So I'd like for you to meet Dory Stone. She's also one of our local experts tonight. And Dory is the former president and CEO of the Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, right here in Vero Beach. Dory had a long career in community development and planning throughout Central Florida prior to coming to Indian River County Chamber of Commerce, let me try that again, Dory. Prior to coming to Indian River County Chamber of Commerce as president in 2017. She formerly managed 3 divisions of the Chamber: economic development, tourism, and chamber functions, with a team of 8 staff and an annual budget of $1.6 million. As president and CEO of the Chamber, she updated the Chamber's website, creating a more user-friendly environment, added 2 additional staff positions, and was the managing director of the Chamber's revised 9-month leadership program. She was actively involved in representing the Chamber's position in the workforce housing efforts on various community boards. She was also involved as a business owner representative in the Vero Beach Downtown Master Plan. Dory holds degrees from Florida Southern College and the University of Central Florida. She has lived in Florida since 1975 and has been in Vero Beach since 2017 with her husband and 4 dogs. Wow, that's impressive. They're tiny little dogs. They equal like 1 Labrador? Okay. All right, and then Mr. Kite, if you would like to join us. Keith Kite was a big hit last time, so we are asked him to come back. And, as he probably told you, a long-term Floridian, but Keith, I'd like to share your bio again with everybody. Keith and the Kite team provides investment, development, and management services for commercial property in Indian River County. Our notable developments in the county include the Spring Hill Suites by Marriott, Hampton Inn Suites, Miracle Mile, and Star Suites Hotel by Riverside Theater. In addition to sales and leasing, Keith and his team manage over 500,000 square feet of commercial property in Indian River County. Born in Gainesville, Florida, Keith is a 4th-generation Floridian. He moved to Vero Beach in 1995, and his wife Gabe, and with their sons Kyle and Colin. Now, both of your sons work with you, right, in the family business?
Yes.
Which I think is really terrific. So that's, congratulations, Dad. Keith holds a Bachelor of Science in Construction Management from Eastern Michigan University. He is a voting member of the Tourism Development Council of Indian River County. Keith is also a member of the Board of Directors of the Indian River Chamber of Commerce and chairs the government committee focused on workforce housing. So that's a wow. That's it. Thank you so much for giving us part of your brain tonight. Now, in the spirit of disclaimers, have you noticed in today's world everything is disclaimed, even the hot coffee at McDonald's? So I'm going to read you our disclaimer for tonight, if that's okay with you. Let's Talk Vero is not aligned with the city of Vero Beach. Tonight's event is intended strictly to educate, engage, and enlighten. Those are our 3 E's, by the way. And to offer those who would like to ask questions related to the upcoming referendums on downtown Vero a chance to do so. We hope this evening will be conversational and interactive. If one of our guests is making a point that you would like more clarity on, please feel free to raise your hand and come up to the microphone so that it may be addressed in real time. Bear in mind, this is not a city council meeting where you come up to the podium to speak for 3 minutes. This evening is intended to give our guests a chance to ask questions. If you would like to raise your hand and participate in the discussion, i.e. you have that booming voice, please, out of respect for our guests and our speakers, come to the podium with a question, not a statement of opinion, whether for or against. This evening is not about advocacy, it is about providing facts and clarity surrounding the 2 referendums. So, with that wonderful disclaimer, and that's not FDIC insured, I'm just kidding. So let's begin. And so thank you so much for joining us tonight. I'm gonna hand it over to Bethany. Oh, yes, ma'am? Oh, hello,
He's here.
TP Kennedy, would you like to come up? Come on down, as they say somewhere. So forgive me, I didn't see you come in, and I was supposed to introduce you after Monty and the mayor. So, but it's better late than never, right? So it's nice to see you. So this is Mr. T.P. Kennedy, who is a fifth generation Vero Beachite, which is awesome. So I'm going to have him make some comments, and thank you for coming. Let me get
Hi, my name's T.P. Kennedy. Just wanted to say a few words tonight. Been a lot of stuff going on around the city, and I am a fifth generation Indian River County resident. Born and raised here. My great-grandfather came here, was hired by Henry Flagler to work on the railroad. He was station manager, so they originally settled in 1907 on 45th Street in Gifford. We still own 1 acre up there on that property. My other grandfather, Jack Chestnut, opened and operated the downtown theater. Not opened, he operated it from the 50s through 1982 when it finally closed. So I was a little kid running around in the theater back in the day. So a little bit about myself. My wife is here, Shannon in the back. We have 6 kids between us, 11 to 21. So we have a vested interest here in the community. I've only lived here in Gainesville, so I went to the University of Florida, graduated and came straight back. Worked for the family business forever. So we have a vested interest in graceful growth here in the county, and that's how we coined the name, Citizens for Graceful Growth. We want to promote options for our kids to come back, because there is very few options for our children to come back professionally, to live, work, and play. So downtown is my main focus, if you haven't heard. There's no doubt about it that I'm passionate about downtown. So looking at the community as a general, attainable housing is something we need, and that's probably the main issue besides insurance in the county moving forward for our residents. So, bringing our kids back and having them have a place to stay and live is key. So I think you've heard countless stories from other people about, attainable housing in this county, but I have some personal ones that I can share with you. I won't name any names, but I'll just tell you their stories. So a couple weeks ago, I was working with an engineering firm, a local engineering firm that specializes in a certain type of engineering. And they were looking at a building with me downtown, a smaller space than what they have right now. So I said, why are you guys looking to downsize? And she said, well, my dad started this firm many, many years ago, and to grow for the future, we're gonna move our headquarters to Melbourne because we can't get any young professional engineers to move to Vero Beach. So they're looking at a smaller space, gonna sell their building, and have the main office be in Melbourne. And most of their work is done for Vero Beach or the surrounding Indian River County areas, but hence they can't get the employees to do the work. So they'll have a small satellite office here with a conference room, so they can meet with their clients here. The second one is a church music director that was hired at one of the big churches here in town. She's a doctoral student, looking to move back to her roots, and with the salary she was being paid, which is a hefty salary by the church, she looked at everything in the area, and she would be living in St. Lucie County, so she chose, I'm not gonna move back home and live in St. Lucie County, so I'll just stay in South Carolina and work for the college that I work for. So that's 2 examples of what we deal with every day. We've got to make a difference, and a small difference helps with downtown, and it comes out in the referendum. So, I urge you to vote yes for the 2 referendums. We did start a PAC. We didn't want to have to go through the political process to start a PAC, but, we are, because it's right to do, and it's something that we have to do for downtown. So we started Citizens for Graceful Growth. And I'll read you what our motto is. Citizens for Graceful Growth is a community-led initiative that advocates for responsible and graceful growth and development patterns, working to ensure new development projects enhance the quality of life for all residents, safeguard natural resources, and reflect the quality character that defines Vero Beach. The committee actively supports revitalization efforts, the creation of walkable spaces and housing solutions that respects the city's past while helping to shape the vision for the future. It sounds simple, correct? However, but the big hurdle is the referendum. So I encourage all of you to vote yes between now and next Tuesday, 8 days away. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your comments. I know your kids have come back. 2 out of my 3 kids also have come back to Vero Beach. And of course, we would all love for them to be able to stay here, and housing really is a big nut. So hence, an expert on workforce and affordable housing. And so I'd love for you to give us some comments regarding the referendum or whatever you think would be accretive to what we're starting to talk about. And thank you for coming.
I love the name Graceful Growth because my 70-unit senior housing complex that I developed in 1997, which is affordable housing, is named after my grandmother, whose name was Grace. So it's Grace's Landing, and I love the name that was chosen for that. So we've got 2 referendums on the ballot. The first one is to increase the density from 17 units per acre to 36 units per acre, but for a maximum of 1,800 residential units in the downtown commercial district. The second one allows for the transfer of development rights from one property owner to another to increase the density over the 36 units per acre maximum on the parcel that the development rights are being transferred from, while remaining within the total number of 1,800 residential units for that district. So Dory, as a planner, what does that look like? If I'm a developer and I've got a half-acre parcel and don't want the development rights, I can go to developer B and sell them, and what does that look like?
I don't think the city intends to, I don't think the city council intends for them to be sold. I think they intend to acquire a pot of development rights that developers who are interested in being able to use them to develop can access that, to not to exceed the maximum number. 36 units per acre, so let's think about the downtown. Pocahontas Park is 47 units per acre, I believe. So when you think of Pocahontas Park, 3 stories with a small park-like setting in the inside, you know, at 36 units per acre, you're still looking at 2 to 3 stories height. And the referendum does not speak at all to the height issue. The height issue, as far as the city is concerned, and as far as city code is concerned, remains the same. And I think it's up to, Jason Jeffries is in the audience, by the way, he's the planning director. I'm very aware that he's sitting right there. So if I get it wrong, I want him to pop up like a meerkat and just tell me. So, but I believe that the city max is 50 feet, and that includes parapets and roofs. So at this point, you're really not looking at any height difference from what's currently in the downtown, and you're actually looking at projects that would be smaller than have already existed in the downtown already. Now, if you are a landowner and choose to not give up your development rights, if you've developed a 1 acre property and you have 1 house sitting on there and you are allowed up to 5 units per acre and you're sitting on 4 units, you could choose not to have those 4 units. You could choose to not have any interest in doing anything with those 4 units and see those put into the pot to be used someplace else. It's a very directed allocation of resources to a specific area. And I want to make one clarification, because it sounds like I'm just the chamberlain, but I have about 38 years in public administration and planning. For the everybody who's like, why is the chamberlain out there talking about? But I have some background in this. But so if you don't want to give up your development rights, that's great, keep them. If you want to see a project go in someplace on US 1, or if you want to see something happen in another area around the city, you're going to be limited by whatever your land use and zoning development rights are.
In that particular zone.
At that particular area. You can't exceed them, but you can go up to. But there's an awful lot of projects in this community that have never gone to the maximum that they are allocated, and those are all in the pot to be used for that downtown redevelopment.
Okay, great. Are there any questions on that? Yes?
Tori, can you elucidate for the audience, what are the chances that 1,800 units could potentially be built in a walkable core of Vero Beach?
I think it's a long-term plan.
Repeat the question.
Sure, the question was, what are the chances that the 1,800 units would be built in the core of the walkable core in Vero Beach? It is a long-term development project, and you're thinking 36 units per acre, and I would hazard a guess that most of the blocks in downtown are a quarter to a half acre max. It's gonna take someone with money and equity and time and vision to be able to acquire an acre at 36 units per acre to be able to put together a project like that. So that 18 units, I believe, is going to last for a while. And on top of that 1,800 units is the infrastructure and all the walkability that is developed as part of that. And we're not even counting the commercial that is going to spring out of the residential piece. And so, and the city's not particularly got a cap on that commercial right now. So those 1,800 units are projected to last. And I don't think, nothing I've ever read has really given a date certain to how long they're gonna last. But it's going to depend on how quickly developers can acquire the property and develop the property, and as a developer, developers do development to make money, and they're going in the investment that comes with that, and there's a lot of investment that goes in to redeveloping the downtown.
So in other words, there's no need to panic.
No, the panic shouldn't happen, and the other piece of that puzzle, and I said this when I spoke back in August, is there's so much time between if the referendum is passed to the first stroke of a developer coming in and being able to move dirt. There are many, many, many pieces of this project. Many public hearings, community meetings, public dialogue that has to happen along the way. And I kid Jason about this. The line isn't gonna form to the right on Wednesday, November 6th, when the doors open to start this. Because there's an awful lot of process that has to go in place, and a lot of planning, because that's the phase we're in right now, is planning. A lot of planning that has to happen, and a lot of opportunity for people to have a say in that. And even to the point of whatever happens with those 1,800 units, people, this community will have a say in those projects as they come in.
Absolutely. They can show up at the city council meetings and have their voices heard. Keith, speaking of developers, you, at the last Let's Talk Vero meeting, which was about affordable housing, I thought you did an excellent job giving an analogy, talking about the Hampton Inn that you developed in Miracle Mile and what that density was. It just kind of gives people a good idea of the sense of what it looks
Sure,
like. So
sure.
could you talk about that?
A couple things I'm hearing here. First, I'd be remiss without a kudos to Monty and John and the city, all my neighbors. I mean, this is what John said it's about. We're a people community, and we have been all our lives. Like TP said, I'm fourth generation Floridian. You know, I'm here because Vero is Vero. Going back to what I'm hearing on density and heights and stuff, and we'll tie this into the Hamptons. I would like everybody just to kind of be aware of what that looks like. It looks like Ocean Drive. The Kempton is 50 feet high. The Gables is 50 feet high. The livability and walkability of Ocean Drive and Cardinal Drive is because we have density near it with a demographic that will support it. Now, both seasonally and off-season. There was a time here in Vero when even Ocean Drive for 2 or 3 months, I could walk down it and I may just see TP. I mean, that was literally it. Now we have a vibrant community. I saw a recent article in the paper, 1990, when we started talking about this. By the way, I've been talking about this since 2001 with the city's vision plan that we'll bring up here tonight. We had 90,000 people. We lowered the height to 50 feet. We have 180,000 people now. Where do you want them, is the real question. Can we have a viability of a downtown environment that affords the people that need to be moving back into this county a place to live? Now, we're gonna have 30,000 more people in this county, just like we had the 90,000 in the last 30 years. So you have to ask yourself, do you want them out west of 95 on more grass, more environmental damage, more sprawl? The world has changed. Your world is now, I don't know a person in this room that probably doesn't have a phone in their pocket and is texting. In the 80s and 90s, we were mall people. We all gathered at the mall. We socially did that. Back when we were farmers, we were in small villages. These things change. We have to go with what is happening in our society. Right now, we have 30% of the Piper workforce and as many as 200 nurses lacking at our hospital. These are the people that you want here in your community. These 200 nurses are driving hours. Right, I'll be honest with you. I have 4 contract doctors and 6 nurses that stay at our hotels for months at a time, just to work here.
Yeah, 40%.
Because they're getting paid for moving, for housing. So I want you to think much more about what we're doing here. We're taking a very small part of our downtown and revitalizing it into a vision that us as citizens, where else do you have a community like John and Monty and Jason have put together for us, hiring some of the best designers in the world, DPZ, that have worked on projects all over the world. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, excuse me, I'm not sure who to point this question to, but assuming the referendum passes, does the Duwani concept then become a blueprint for this, or is that a city decision?
Would you like to ask?
We got a lot of momentum based on what Duwani is.
No.
Well, the question is, does the blueprint that is designed by Dewani become our blueprint? I would, without stepping on any toes at city planning and zoning, because I work with them, I would venture to say, no, it's gonna come to what the marketplace will deliver for us. As far as, is Vero Beach downtown, what is, the question was originally, what does 36 units look like? 36 people per unit, okay? The answer to that question is not much. We need about 3,000 housing units that are workforce housing. Our workforce housing number right now is between 64,000 a year and 128,000 a year for a demographic average. And that's affording a $2,000 a month, a house, approximately $300,000 to $350,000, maybe a $400,000 house, or an apartment, multifamily rental. Younger people don't have the equity, they don't have the financial resources, all the other things that go with buying that house. So we have to offer a housing solution. Your question was, does it look like what Delaney does? In some aspects it will, but what it needs to do is get us off of our streets, get us into a core, get us close to our workplaces, and get us close to our livability environment. The retirement community in this town needs a downtown core that is revitalized. We've probably been through, I'm just gonna take a guess, this is not an accurate number, but I know I've been through 20 different restaurants in downtown over the last 20 years. that's not because they don't want to stay and be a successful restaurant and be a Tides or an Ocean Grill or a Bobby's on the one. It's because we're not affording them the livability to go 5 minutes from my house and have a nice dinner. This is a different, we have three parts of this town. We have the beach, we have downtown, we have the west. Yes, Linda.
So I'm not a Bobby's or a Tides, but I'm a Kilted Mermaid.
Absolutely.
So when I talk about my kids, my son is my general manager, so I'm talking about my bio kids, but also my son-in-law and the staff that started with me in their 20s and now they're in their 30s and they still work for me. And some of them are now in their 40s and one just turned 50, which is crazy to me because they've all been with me for 13 to 15 years. They're not that interested in driving. They want to walk. They just want to live downtown and walk. Just the thought of a car payment and car insurance is all too much for them. So what we're basically asking is just to establish.
Linda, just 1 second. Can everybody hear her?
No.
Okay. Can you come to the microphone? Thank you.
I mean,
Because what you're saying is important, Linda, so everybody wants, I want everyone to hear.
I think you should start again. It's a really good story.
Yes, it is.
I'm gonna start again.
Okay.
Is this on? Okay, so, I'm not a Tides or a Bobby's, but I am a Kilted Mermaid. And, my kids have different ideas about how they wanna live and how they wanna be. And when I say my kids, my son, our son, is my general manager. He's in his 30s. He's my bio kid, but the rest of the kids that work there have been with me anywhere from 10 to 14 years. They don't leave me. They don't want to drive. They're not interested in having a car. They are not interested in paying car insurance. Everything has gotten so expensive. They just want to live in downtown and walk around and be able to patronize this coffee shop. It's ridiculous to me how much people spend on coffee right now, but that's what my kids want to do. That's my kids, all my staff. They want to live downtown. There's some places downtown. Can someone at some point in this talk about the Muse and why it still exists? Because it still exists because we haven't passed density. The Muse apartments, y'all have driven by them, they're disgusting. It's just the worst, it's just the worst. Yes, on 14th Avenue. That lot could be developed in something adorable. But how can you, when the density that currently entertains is higher than 17 units per acre? Like if you tore that down, you couldn't build adorable Pocahontas Apartments there because Pocahontas Apartments is 70 units per acre. 70 units per acre. So my kids, the kids that work in the restaurants, the kids that we all want to have come back here, we want our grandchildren close to us. We want all of those things. They need a place to live, and they're a different generation. They don't want a car. They're not interested in any of that. They're just interested in being in a walkable, beautiful area where they can bump into their friends and grab a cup of coffee and go to the park and they picnic. So weird. They picnic in the park. It's adorable. But they're a different generation. And that's what we're trying to achieve here. We're not trying to build high rises. We're not trying, I promise you, despite popular fuss and bother, we will produce architectural standards that make sure the quality and the character of Vero Beach are preserved. I promise everyone's on board for that, okay? So that's all I wanted to say. And thanks, Keith. If you can,
Can I, do you mind?
One, I love the Kilted Mermaid as well as the others, so I'll put that out there for you, Lynn. But what she's saying is, the codes, the zoning, the planning, is it gonna be what DPZ has drawn? It may be, but it's a concept. The concept is we need a mixed-use zoning requirement. The state and the cities and the counties of this state, and I'll give you the example right now, it'll tie right in. And the Hampton Inn is 90 units. It sits on 2 acres. The average room is 326 square feet between the studios, the doubles, and the singles. To build the same apartment complex on that same lot, currently I can put 24 units. So that's the problem. Are we gonna have 10 Hampton Inns downtown? I doubt it, because the market won't feasibility support me occupying it. Will I have 1,800 apartments? I doubt it, because there's not enough food, banking, retail, all coffee, Quilted Mermaid, everything else that needs to go with the city. The reason we would like to have, and a beautiful thing about this is, and by the way, we're not the PAC up here. TP was the PAC, and I hope you support him, but I'm not here to support any of that. I am here as an information source for you to kind of understand where the history of the city has come from and where it's not. And Jonathan, maybe we can just allude to the slide real quick.
Can I point out one thing real quick? So Matt, to tie into your question, and then Linda to kind of bring it home with yours. I think the Andres Dewani plan is a great dynamic opportunity. I think it's a vision. And you have, in order to do a good plan, to have good planning, you have to have vision. You have to have that first step, which is vision. But one of the other things you really need to make a downtown work are all the aspects that Linda just talked about. You need a place, and you hear it, live, work, or play, it's so trite, we've all heard it for so many years, but you need a place to live, you need the bars and restaurants to go eat, you need the coffee houses to hang out, and you need the great parks. And our downtown has the backbone, it has the infrastructure in place to support all those things. And I'm not talking about parking, it has the infrastructure in place to support more development in a way that makes sense for this community without overriding and overshadowing what the vision is of downtown. So to kind of get a foot in the door, I would say Andres Dewani's plan just helped to set it in motion.
Mm-hmm.
But when I talk about all the pieces of this puzzle that have to fit together, they have to fit together in a workable plan, master plan. And that's the next step in all of this. But that master plan, and like I said, Andres kind of put his foot in the door, is to start looking beyond what we have today. And as we go through time, and I found it interesting for Keith to talk about like history and how things were, when you go back to cities and just cities in general, they all had a downtown. It's where you had your bank, it's where you had your church, it's where you had your flea market, it's where you had your markets. Downtowns, a good community always has a downtown. Our city is over 100 years old. Somebody gave some thought to where that was gonna be. So it's time to give it some credit that it needs a kick in the butt to make it work today and not how it needed to work 30 years ago. Because I have a 25-year-old, guess what? He doesn't want to have a car. He lives in Atlanta. He takes all the transit, he's a little urbanite, but it's because it's got that. Does that help?
Yeah, just
Yes.
one quick follow-up. Do you see, based on your experience in planning, do you see the necessity for a set?
Matt, can you come over to the microphone? Please, thank you.
Well, I can speak loud.
We want everybody to hear your
I'm
question.
with you.
because
I'm like,
it's
I'm ready
important.
to. I might get in trouble.
I'll just stand.
I don't have a
Or
question.
you wouldn't be asking.
My question is, given your experiences in development, do you see, this is clearly, it passes, now we have a chicken and egg situation, right? Do you see the need for incentives for developers down the road, or in your experience, did you ever have to do that to get to kind of prime the pump, so to speak?
So I'll take it from my aspect of having sat in the public sector seat, and then I'll let Keith answer it from a development standpoint. a good development that happens in downtown should never not have a development agreement or some kind of instrument that goes with it that talks about what's the give and get. And in that instrument, it has laid out the expectations. You're gonna get this many units, you're gonna provide, all the things that are gonna have to happen.
Including affordable, or workforce housing.
Exactly, which is all
Yes.
part of how you get to that 36
Yes.
dwelling units. per
Gotta have
acre.
workforce housing.
But that's the negotiation, and that's the negotiation that the city council will hear for any project. At least my recommendation would be that's the negotiation that the city council should hear on any project that goes in downtown. So everybody in the community knows if there has, and the incentives that need to be given may be how you handle, how the parking is handled, or how are you going to get impact fee credits for any existing bathrooms? It's all in the weeds on what those incentives may be. I think the opportunity to have incentives to 36 units per acre by offering affordable housing is a great first start. There's a poor lady in the back who's had her hand up.
I'm not a poor lady.
Can you come to the mic, please?
Oh, I can speak loudly. Can you hear me?
Can everybody hear? Okay.
Okay, and
Perfect.
it's an easy question. You talk about affordable housing in the downtown. Affordable is such a loaded term.
Yeah, and I
What's
think
gonna keep it affordable?
So-
Any safeguards in place to keep it
Correct.
affordable?
So
That's the
when
question.
I'm talking about, and I should have clarified because I think Keith did. So one of the initiatives that is going on with this effort is looking at, there's various levels of affordability. And by affordability in the downtown, I think we're looking at 80 to 120% of the median income, which is workforce housing. And that runs to somebody who would make somewhere between 55 to 60,000 up to about $120,000 a year in income, and that may be up to a family of 4 or one person. So that's where I believe that the target is for that, and I think that it's going to be part of the development codes that are written by the city as to how they're going to monitor and how the developer is gonna be responsible for how affordability is managed for the life of the project.
Okay.
But that is also something that needs some thought, and it needs a lot of input from the development side as well as from the community as to how all that is gonna be monitored. But that's an important piece of what has to happen to make this really come to pass.
Thank you.
This gentleman here.
Yeah, I'm just curious, and I'm for both amendments, but what kind of research or study has been made to the impact of all this, the parking, I started to mention it, and the traffic for our already congested downtown area?
If you look at the city's website, they have addressed those issues on their website as part of the Dwani study that was done. There's been work that's been done on the anticipated transportation impact of it, additional units downtown, as well as existing parking and what's available, what's in stock today, and what can be used a little bit fuller as we go through in time. Not everybody who lives downtown is gonna work downtown, so you'll have cars coming and going during the day, and that frees up.
So what was the conclusion of that study?
I can allude to that.
Just 1 second. It's last call. So if anybody wants to jump out to the bar and get that last
You want a
drink.
5-minute break or you want to take a survey? Yes, it's a very good question, and I think it demands attention. There's, according to Dwayne in the city, there's 1,353 parking spots available currently on city lots, county lots, and on the street, which includes the empty parking garage at the county courthouse. This is a beautiful opportunity for the city of Vero Beach, because I saw an article about Tradition and St. Lucie West, and I don't know how many have been to St. Lucie West and Tradition, but all you see is traffic. It's because it really boils down to your choice. Do you want downtown with parking that's available and will be dispersed properly? Or do you wanna build another, hello?
There we go.
Another, I call them Disney-built communities, all over the state that have this central core with no parking and everybody's gotta drive 25 miles to get there. The Avenues is one, St. Lucie, is one, West Tradition's another, right in our own backyard. Here, we have 1,323 underutilized parking spots that's virtually empty almost every day. I go by and look at it.
Yeah.
And to finish that with the number, think about it. What developer in the right mind, what town in the right mind would build a canyon of 1,800 housing units down the middle of 14th Avenue? I mean, let's just back up here and think what we're doing. The reason people would move there is so that we can get back to those restaurants, those beautiful galleries, those restaurants, those kilted mermaids, the banking, so we can interact with each other, so we can go to Pocahontas Park, so we can go to the Heritage Center. I mean, we want to activate this community and not have it become a city desert in the middle of our own town. That's what's slowly happening. I watched it for almost 30 years now, right here in this. Please, TP.
So, one question for you, Keith. Right now, the county.
Can everybody hear him?
I'll come up if need to.
Yeah.
So while he's coming up, those 1,323 spaces out of 1,800 housing units, another unique thing happens with parking. Parking can become innovative. And what I mean by innovative is a restaurant that's only open for dinner doesn't have parking, breakfast and lunch. An office building that's open from 8 to 5 doesn't have overnight parking for a resident.
Like the county courthouse parking lot.
Exactly. So I think that Dwayne has spoke very well to the concept of innovative parking, hardly increasing any more footprint of parking at all. We hear it for years on Ocean Drive. Not enough parking. We weren't innovative enough back in the day that the density that we put in housing that is supporting all of those restaurants, from the financial services to the restaurants to the cute little shops, the hotels, restaurants, wasn't there. So now we're having to reverse that problem. Here we have the opposite problem. So I feel very comfortable about it.
So, downtown is mostly made up of local people that own the businesses and the land and the buildings. So, the mall has been recently purchased by an out-of-town developer, and he's going to the county to ask them to raise the height limitation to 50 feet. He's gonna redevelop the whole mall, bring in a bunch of more retailers, apartments. It's probably not gonna be affordable units, but maybe it is, maybe it'll do something, a hotel. So
The
that's
county ought
gonna,
to require that.
so that's gonna be a bunch of more, big companies coming in that we're gonna go shop at, when we can support downtown and focus on downtown Vero Beach, because you're probably gonna have another Viera out there when it's all said and done. But it is on the county commission's agenda, because the guy is asking 48 feet, so is it gonna be Pandora's box when they open it? Is it gonna be 48 feet, or are they gonna keep it 35? So I wanna get your perspective on out there. Should people focus on out there, or should we focus on what we have here in downtown, and downtown being locally owned and operated?
And small business.
I think we do both. We've got 30,000 people coming. I think to answer the 50-foot question at the mall, and I'm here about downtown Vero, I'm not gonna go there tonight. All I can tell you is the Twin Pairs are 50 feet high. The Hampton Inn is 49 feet, 6 inches high. The Bank of America building on Miracle Mile is 49 feet, 10 inches high. The Gables, right over here on Ocean Drive, is a little over 50 feet. Kempton Hotel is 50 feet high, right on the nose. So Are you gonna have a bunch of that? I don't think so. We can go to a couple slides and see that, but we're not gonna have canyons of this 50-foot stuff. You just can't get it literally built.
I also don't think a city who wants to have a well-defined downtown should see, it's not a place that big boxes are gonna wanna go. You might get a few, and hopefully the few that come in are gonna have a smaller footprint or a smaller opportunity, a smaller option for a footprint. But I just don't, if big boxes were gonna happen in downtown, they'd have happened by now, where somebody wanted to acquire property and try to do a big box. And big boxes are no more than, 40 feet tops. And I think the challenge is gonna be trying to acquire enough property and parking that would make a big box workable. Now, I could see a small footprint grocery store, but also a place for independent businesses. When I was with the Chamber of Commerce, 98% of our businesses were small business owners that were under 10 people or less. So this community is made up of small businesses who need a place to work, to go, to be able to do their craft. So I think that's an opportunity that that the city should continue to foster in developing downtown. I think there's room for big box out west, and I think the mall is gonna have even more big box. And I think that, in my opinion, looking at the mall, from watching malls redevelop, you're gonna target that housing to be to the college, which is across the street, and you're gonna be looking for walkability options across State Road 60 to be able to get to the college, which is in badly need of apartments and housing. So hopefully they'll go in with a live, play option, similar to some of the open air malls that we've seen develop as redevelopment of malls around the state. But, we'll have to see, but I agree with Keith, there's plenty of room for both.
I pulled this right out of the city's vision plan of, and the reason I left it here at Miracle Mile is I pulled it out of here in 2002, Jason, quote me if I'm wrong.
He wasn't here.
I know, he wasn't, but he knows when the vision, when was the vision plan built, Mommy? 2005. And this was the Miracle Mile area. It should be enhanced while allowing its future evolution in accordance with changing commercial development trends. The entire referendum is just based on concept. It's not based on what the actual result will be. And it's important to understand that, because look at Miracle Mile's development of changing. We were able to get 3 avenues. We were able to get the modern one building used to be a furniture store. 3 avenues, I don't know if y'all were here, was just a big office building with a drive-through bank. The hotel was on 3 abandoned, 4-unit, 1950 multifamily units, and a wonderful Rita's Icy. I wish we still had it, but it's out at the moment. So I just want you to see the evolution of change over 20 years on Miracle Mile, so that you can envision the next 10 or 20 years on Main Street. It's really hard to wrap your mind around a concept and say, is this gonna be it? Is this stone? It's not stone. I mean, it's an artist concept. It's subjective. It ebbs and flows. There's no reason that the citizens sitting in this room cannot come back to the community in 5 years, hopefully with the successful passive that's been, say, we want to change this. Remember, we were sitting here 34 years ago, and they built the Twin Towers over there, and the guy wanted to go to 20 stories. That's why they're 10 stories. I don't know if everyone knows this story or not about how we got to 50 feet. We became the condo boom of late seventies, early eighties, came in with these two. He had two more right next door that were gonna be double that height, at 20 stories each, and then we were gonna go all the way down to Fort Lauderdale like the rest of Florida did. And we said, no, we're gonna cut it in half. We're going to 50 feet. These concepts still exist today. You're not here to destroy the place, you're here to enhance it. So I hope I'm trying to answer some bigger concept questions about being a developer. As far as having development program that Jason and Monty and the city and planning and zoning and the planning and zoning board and the codes and building codes, the state of Florida, the city, we can get through all that, but we just need the ability to do it. I mean, ask yourself, if you're gonna build a 90-room hotel, or you're gonna build a 24-unit apartment complex, where the Hampton sits. I mean, you know, these, you have to build to the market of what it's gonna take. They built 3 avenues, not because they wanted, you know, sure they had a great concept, but they knew they needed mixed use. They knew they needed a restaurant, some office buildings above, some retail shops next to the restaurants. These are the sort of things that we look at to make a city viable. I hope I'm answering some questions here tonight.
Linda, do you want to come up to the mic, please? Thank you.
As someone mentioned, affordable is kind of a loaded word. I am curious from a developer standpoint, can you truly build housing that will work for those people who make less than $30 an hour? Because that's the minimum amount you're talking about at your 55,000 cutoff. Because we need people who are cashiers and we need people who are working in our restaurants and our hospitals, and most of them do not quite make that. Nor do we getting teachers, and so much of the workforce that we actually.
I'm gonna let Dory speak a little more to it, but the main thing I wanna do right now is clarify something between workforce housing. There's all these words are out there about housing now, because let's face it, the entire country has a housing crisis. And we're gonna have a housing crisis for a long time. And that's another reason I'm up here tonight, because I believe in this. The answer to your question is, what you may think of in Vero Beach as affordable housing, in this county, we have a real problem with affordable housing. 30% of our workforce is in the affordable housing bracket. That is not gonna be downtown Vero, other than some isolated units, maybe 10, 20, 30% of them that will be small studios for a single person making 20, 25 an hour. The SHIP program, United Way, the state of Florida, the developments that you see on Indian River Boulevard, south of 17th Street, are affordable housing, Section 8 housing.
I wouldn't call it Section 8.
Those, not down to Section 8.
Tax credit.
Employment qualified credit
Correct.
housing. Am I using the right term? Maybe
It's considered low income housing.
The important thing about it is it takes today for affordable housing to work, other than if you're in a urban environment where you have a skyscraper that has zoned it part affordable, part workforce, part market rate.
Right.
It takes about 200 to 250 units to get to the volume you need to get to the workforce housing model. Quote me if I'm wrong there.
No, you're right.
So why I say that downtown will not solve the affordable housing crisis, which is another crisis we're not dealing with here tonight. It's a county problem, it's a state problem, it's a nation problem. That's another issue to address. Stay focused on downtown and the referendum. Will it accommodate some of that affordable housing? At some point it will. There will be a kid coming back at 20 years old, making 40 grand a year, that wants to grow into some sort of business here in town, whatever it is. Hopefully it's here. And he will be able to live and work in downtown, much like Linda described. That's what these kids want to do today, Z and X and whatever and all the other generation numbers are. I mean, we have to reverse what we did from World War II to 2008. Just like we tore up the corded telephone. And the answer is to bring all of us back together in a social environment where we can live, work, play, and stay, so that we have an economic viability to our town. When I mean economic viability, these are the people up at Piper, up at Cleveland Clinic, and everywhere else that you visit around town, including myself, TB, Dory, Lynn, Referendums.
One of the biggest expenses for new development is, initially, is the land costs. If you don't have land costs that make sense to do an affordable housing property, then you're just, it's cost prohibitive. And the land costs in Indian River County have just shot up. So it makes it really difficult to get a 7 to 10 acre parcel to be able to develop affordable housing. So
My understanding of land costs per acre in Indian River right now is $150,000 an acre undeveloped. That's just off the book. That's just in the box first blush. I think we're all here tonight because we recognize there's a market for $500,000 and $600,000 new homes, but where we don't see the market is for those homes or those apartments that hit that, as TB mentioned, the young engineers or the retired planners or something along those lines that want to be able to work. But I certainly think organizations like Habitat for Humanity and some of our other great foundational affordable housing institutions here are helping to meet that need, but the need is greater than the ability to provide. But downtown offers a niche at a level that's slightly above that from an income range. And that's the exciting part.
I would agree,
Because there's a part who, you could live and work, you might not need a car. You could have a one-car household, and boy, wouldn't that be great.
Absolutely. Talk a little bit about what it's going to do to the tax base.
We did talk about this, didn't we, a little bit? So and Monty's looking at me like, really? You're going to try to talk about that? We have scads of people. The fact that right now downtown is underdeveloped, the ability to look at those property values and what will happen when you see development come in at the next level, the ad valorem taxes that should be able to be captured out of that just from the development in the downtown redevelopment should be high enough to certainly support the infrastructure, any infrastructure redevelopment now and in the future for what needs to happen for things to take place. That's my opinion, just having watched redevelopment happen. There's always front-end costs that have to happen, but at the end of the day, the city should be looking at this as an opportunity to see those ad valorem tax base of that I mentioned it when I spoke, kind of the heart of the city significantly going up with the opportunity to see as development happens and redevelopment occurs in that particular area. There's no reason that I would expect the ad valorem taxes, the ad valorem base not to increase significantly. At the end of the day, it's always going to take a while. All those things they take several years to kind of catch up with themselves. But at the end of the day, I would hope that the city would be looking at this as a financial and an economic boon for the city itself.
Because we're really limited as a city geographically. We don't have any room to expand out. So, and you got to remember that the people that are working at the hospital or working at Piper and leaving the county area, they're taking their money elsewhere. They're not spending it here. And we want to keep it in Bureau. It's important. Barbara? To the mic, please, Miss Barbara.
So let's be radiant optimists and assume the amendments pass. You talk about the processes that have to take place. What is your estimated amount of time between the time the processes begin and they end and we put a shovel on the ground?
Mike's got his head in his hands.
At my age, you have to be recognized. I'm interested in this sort of stuff.
I roughly, and it depends whether we want to see Jason work his fingers to the nub, and I think that's terrible. And he's smiling, thank heavens. I think you're looking at optimistically at 24 to 36 months, and that is because you've got to have state review. You also want to be very intentional, right? Exactly, about what you're putting in place. And so you figure that under just notification, 9 to 11 to 13 public hearings themselves take an incredibly long time to advertise and get public input. So I think on a very fast scale, you'd be looking 3 years, and that's really pushing it.
To answer your question, about 10 to 20 years.
That's for total build out, not for the first project.
Now, I said that in jest, but it is true, but I can also tell you that right now in downtown, the Fish and Wildlife building was vacant for quite a while. And it's now been purchased by a early elementary school. I know those teachers would love to live right next door to it.
Yes.
So if the school gets built, gets open, and maybe one of us can build, a multifamily place next to the school. This is an abandoned building downtown, and there's not the only one. There's plenty of them. The same thing will happen, because now we have a school. We got, over 100 kids in there every day. We got 20 teachers, on and on it goes. So these are the sort of things that it will take, I think, to answer that. Now, are we getting close on time? I wanted, Jonathan, can you just run through a couple of these real quick for me?
Sure.
I know a few people are leaving. Are there any more questions?
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question. I have a wow. Because
Okay.
we're all here at a very important time in the city's history. We have the opportunity, given everything they've said on stage, to make an incredible change for our city. We, the people in this room, we get to create that vision. And I know that Keith and Dory talked about how it's hard to envision what the future of downtown could look like. I'm going to encourage all of you to sign up and take one of the tours with my husband, Bob Stanley, or with Rick Ramos, to take a tour of the walkable core, to see what is possible, to see the density that's currently there, to see what's possible to build, to get a look at what the residential currently looks like, to see where the vacant lots are, so that you can ask your neighbors, the business owners, the property owners that you know, to build what we want to see in our city. Because it's very hard to sit in a room like this, hear all of this, and not to physically go out and walk those streets and see what's there.
I would agree with that. My husband and I did the walking tour last week, it was fantastic.
Now find out that that's for downtown.
Yes.
Yes!
Yes.
Talk to everybody you see on the street, all your neighbors and friends, and promote them to do the same and get this damn thing passed.
I think that just ties in real quick.
I am an optimist, but now I'm gonna be Debbie Downer. I'm sorry. I have been supporting a downtown business for well over 10 years. I go 6 days a week. I love Kilted too, I love going there. I go to Studio 14 and take Zumba with my good friends Sandra and Scott, I've known for 25 years. And
I park in the parking lot right next door, or in front, or in back, if I can find a space. There are not a million parking spaces. I'm sorry, Keith. I guess this goes to you, Monty. The parking lot, the trees, they're always, nothing is taken care of. There are beer cans from the previous weekend that'll sit there for 2 weeks unless I pick them up and throw them away. I've been away for the summer, as I go away every summer, and I come back, and there's still the weeds and the crud. I see the benches are gone because of, you don't want homeless to sit there. Why? How can we promote a beautiful downtown when the city can't take care of its own parking spaces and clean up the areas? And I'm really sorry I brought the mood down.
No, I think it's absolutely correct. I can't park downtown either. I try to unload 14, 20 coffees, a lot of other people do. I try to get over to Kill Mermaid, I gotta walk down there 5 minutes. What did I just say? We got 1,323 spaces we can't use. This is the fundamental problem with the current zoning. So if we can lighten that up, allow for parking, we can fix the parking problem right now because the spot's already there. If we can pass the referendum so that we can start using them in different exchangeable uses.
Okay, so now I'm gonna be Debbie Downer.
You know what I'm saying?
Is honestly, when you're looking at a downtown, it is not always about parking right in front of the business. It is enjoying that walk for 2 blocks while you park and you walk and you enjoy window shopping and people seeing and stopping for that. A downtown is not about, if you want to park right in front of your business, go to Miracle Mile, go to Ocean Drive, go to the mall. Go out west.
Ocean Drive.
If you want to see your downtown be vibrant, anticipate a block to 2 blocks, because there's 2 things that are happening with that. Number 1, it's vibrant enough that people are parking, and people are there, people are using those parking spaces, and they're not, and there's people out. And so it's kind of like a level of service E on a roadway is not a bad thing. It means people are using the roadway and they're going places. If you have trouble parking in your downtown and you can't park right in front of your business, people are there. And that's what you want. That's what you want. After dark, I think the whole concept of a downtown is as well as vibrancy is safety. So one of the issues that has to be addressed as development comes in, and I think you'll see it as redevelopment happens, is safety. Better lighting, wider sidewalks, accessibility. That's what happens with redevelopment. Your downtown becomes a safer place because you don't have narrow little walkways and 24-foot sidewalks and not a lot of streetlights. Because the developers and the property owners don't want the responsibility of safety, but as a community, you should demand it. So that's my Debbie Downer for the year.
Do you mind? This is really awesome. I've learned a lot. I think we've had some terrific conversations. We promised the theater be done by 7. So
Yeah.
do you want? We promised Keith to show you one more slide, and then give me a minute to thank everyone. But please, Jonathan, is this the slide you want?
After this, if we have some questions, I'll be out in the
Yes.
lobby. I'll hang around a minute. Go right ahead.
I live downtown. I've lived there for 4 years. I have no problem with parking. None. I may not be able to park right next to my building, but I can park easily within walking. I have no concerns about after dark. I grew up in Miami. I have no problem. Now, what I do have a couple of things. The little stones that have been installed downtown, like outside the ice cream shop. There's like little stones that they pulled out little. Those have to go. Those are safety. Those really have to go. We have a lot of things on there. Well, the mulch may be spoken for. No, the mulch, I've seen it, but I spoke to John and they said they've already got a earmark for something. I don't know.
But yeah.
Yes.
I just wanted to bring this together in the last two slides, Jonathan. You know, just so you see, this is 50 feet high. So I don't know if you can see this close enough or not, but you're looking at a downtown that does the parking, does the lighting, landscapes. So go on, Jonathan. This is what I wanted to get to. Look, we all know where we are today. We, the citizens, get to choose what we want downtown to become. And now's the time to decide, next Tuesday. Go ahead. This is the important part I want you to realize. We are all partners in this. I'm a partner as a developer. The city of Vero Beach, Jason, Monty, John are partners. All of you are our partners to make it successful. The downtown residents that we heard to them tonight. This is the partnership that we're trying to build to make downtown what we all want it to be. So while every one of us may have a different concept here tonight, the goal of this referendum is to allow us the canvas to get that done. So if you don't want to walk away with anything else, I really want you to think about, do you want to be a participant in painting the picture of your town going forward? The city has given you the opportunity with this referendum.
Thank you so much. Couldn't have said it any better. Would you, please help Let's Talk Vero thank our wonderful experts, Dory, Keith, and Bethany. Thank you so much for your time. I know you worked hard.